Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Final Whistle with myself, Upila Petero. And then Australia, gentlemen.
Yes.
Jeez, what a terrible season they've had under Cheika. And Cheika doesn't seem to be losing his job at all.
It's funny. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. You know, they can't really get rid of him. It's too late, you know. And keeping him obviously also.
They just have to wait until the end of 2019 World Cup, basically.
The World Cup.
But their problem is bigger than Cheika.
Yeah.
They I don't know what's happened to their development structures and the blooding in of rugby union players.
I don't agree
but
with this.
they just, to me, do not seem to be producing the quality of rugby players they had in the areas when they were competitive. You know?
I only have one example for you, Mr. Goyas. Jake White got to Australia one season.
Yes.
First season, semi-final Super Rugby.
Mm-hmm.
Development or no development, whatever was happening at Brumbies at the time, first season, Super Rugby semi-finals.
Okay.
So which means that coaching is an issue in Australia.
I'd say it's both. I think it's coaching and I think it's playing personnel. I mean, if you look at, and I always say this, is that how many Australian guys would actually make it into the other teams? You know, I think the guys that will probably you want to pull is
That's Nick Mallet narrative.
It's Beale. Okay, it's for now. It's Beale. It's Hooper. It's Poco. You know, and probably Genia in one of the two teams. But that's when I talk about the quality of the play. And then, as you touch on it again, it's the quality of the coaching, which and then talks a whole full quality of the structure. I think earlier this year we spoke about someone critiquing the Australian Rugby Union. And how, I don't know if they were blaming it on Robbie Deans for messing up their structures.
Peter Gibson.
Or something.
No, Peter Gibson, Daryl Gibson.
But I just
Daryl
think
Gibson, who's currently coaching Waratahs.
Yeah,
he was coaching with Cheika, actually. As
to
an
me, their
assistant
structure is
before.
broken. I mean, which Super Rugby team of theirs was actually quite competitive?
Oof. Tough. You see so, Australia?
To be quite honest, they've had a horrible season, and I have a simple way of looking at it. It maybe might be a bit old school, maybe rubbish as well. I just think their players don't look fit. Their players don't look up for it. One or two guys or three guys maybe, like or Falau. Falau doesn't look interested anymore. But in terms of just pitching up on the day, their players just don't look up for it. They pitch up maybe for a game against New Zealand here, a game against South Africa there, but I mean to lose against England the way they did was just very, very disappointing.
But it's funny that they show up during World Cups though. I mean, semi-final, final.
Well, to be fair, it's one World Cup where they showed up, which is the last one. And one
2011 semi-finalists.
2011. But I mean, they had a decent side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but still, I mean, they tend to, I mean, even in 2015, they pretty much have the same players that they had in 2015.
In 2011, they also got a very, I mean, their man of the match was Bryce Lawrence. Okay. Okay. So they were. That's how they were actually able to in the quarterfinal against the Box. It still hurts to do that. Okay.
Oh, what a mess! Now looking at the European sides, people are talking about the Southern Hemisphere shift, or the Northern Hemisphere is closing in on Southern Hemisphere, and I see that happening. Yes, but at the end of the day, they still don't have the coaches from the Northern Hemisphere coaching their sides. They have players, they have coaches from the Southern Hemisphere taking up the jobs that are in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's not only coaches, it's players too.
Yeah, fair enough. But what do you guys think of England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland?
Yeah, so very, very good teams. I think the Northern Hemisphere teams have improved. They are playing much more attractive rugby. They're playing much more competitive rugby.
Yeah.
You can see the Southern Hemisphere influences in the team, whether it be players, whether it be coaches. Right, 100% happy. But the one thing that I am beginning to see year in, year out now is that incoming tours to Southern Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere teams win. Incoming or end of the year tours to the Northern Hemisphere, there's upsets and all of these things because again the guys have just gone through a full season and vice versa. So for me, once that is sort of sorted out, where there is one long international season or one long
for everyone.
season
Global
for
season,
everyone, a global season, we will always sit here and say at the end of the year tour, Ireland were good or Scotland were good or whatever.
That's
or
fair.
was it because Siya Kolisi and his boys were tired or whatever? But I mean, it's just an opinion, or it's just something that I think plays a big role.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point that you
some
raised.
of the performances.
But I think to be fair to them, and talking of the shift, so if you look at 2, 3, and 4 are all their teams, and then we sit at 5. I think there's one of their teams at 6, and then I think Australia 7. And I think to me that is a fair reflection as to where rugby is at the moment. I mean, I was really impressed by Scotland when they played against us.
Yes.
I've been impressed by Scotland in terms of how they've lifted
Six
the
Nations
game
as well.
in the Six Nations. I mean, Six Nations are really competitive this year, although, I mean, Ireland did kind of run with it, which is great. But the whole thing for me, I think what's great about it is that it's great for World Rugby, because we're going into a World Cup next year, okay, with more than one team as All Blacks being favourites, you know. It's the All Blacks, it's Ireland, it's England, it's Wales, and then the Box are coming in as almost like as a dark horse.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at it now. I was looking at the pool things and saying, shit, cool. If we beat the All Blacks, we get an easier quarter against Scotland, but it's not a given to beat
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's no easy right. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, the tough one is Ireland, and both us and the All Blacks will want to avoid Ireland. Then you look at other pools and you start saying that, okay, well, Wales are going to top this pool over Australia, okay? And then I don't know who's going to come in at 2 or 3. So it's great for World Rugby that we go to Japan, call it a new rugby nation, with the view that rugby is now giving us a showpiece which is going to be competitive throughout. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, as we say, we've kind of always looked at the World Cup to say that it only really gets competitive for Southern Hemisphere teams. Even quarterfinals are usually after, because you go into the quarters expecting that, okay, well, the Box will win, the All Blacks will win, Australia will win.
2011, it didn't happen.
Well, they had a couple of upsets. You see, they had a couple of upsets. You know, that wasn't 2011, that was 2007. But I mean, that was
That was a very interesting World Cup.
So it's really great for World Rugby. It's really great to see the game growing. And long may the Northern Hemisphere teams remain to be competitive. And
Definitely.
So, I mean, I'm happy about that.
Here's an interesting thing I've just thought about where Rassie is involved. Rassie actually has quite a difficult task ahead of him as a Springbok coach if he stays his full tenure. Next year, 2019 World Cup, right? He'll do whatever he does there. 2 years later, British Irish Lions are coming here, which I think is probably going to be one of the best British and Irish Lions teams we've ever seen. So that's another interesting.
That'll be tough.
Thing to look forward.
You're looking at the caliber of players that they have in England.
In England right now, or in the UK.
Yeah. Well, follow us on Twitter at @grit_sports. # Beyond the Final Whistle. Join in on the conversation.